Hey, fellow comic fans. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, and today, unlike most of my live streams, I'm joined by other people, so we have people to talk to. So I'm joined today by George O'Connor, who is the creator of Charlie Spot. I'm also joined by Dave
Steinborn.
Steinborn. Yes, I knew it right up until I had to say it. George Steinborn, one of the creators of Broken Trident. All three of our Kickstarter campaigns are ending here tonight. George and I were both ending in 1 hour at midnight, and then Dave's campaign ends an hour later. So we're going to have a closeout party here where we talk all about our Kickstarters and answer any questions that anyone might have. And hopefully a grand time will be had by all. So why don't we start by, George, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your project that we can hear from Dave, and then I'll show all the different campaigns here. We can talk about them.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, George O'Connor. You can find my stuff at homelesscomics.com. Writer and musician out of Boston. And yeah, celebrating the end of Charlie Spot. It's the 4-issue series, doing the complete series at Kickstarter for the first time. And it's about a homeless veteran who loses his favorite busking spot in the city park, stolen from him. And he has to go on an increasingly ridiculous adventure to figure out who stole his spot and how he can get it back.
Awesome. Great. And I'll just mention that as I had just mentioned to George before we started, I have the first issue of Charlie Spot. I'm also from the Boston area. I saw George at a convention last year and picked up the first issue, and I really enjoyed it. And it looks like we've got some people coming in. So Silver Knight Kyle says greetings all. Hello, Kyle. Thanks as always for joining us. I appreciate it very much. And Dave, why don't you tell us about yourself and about Broken Trident?
Yeah, so my name is Dave Steinborn. You can normally find me at lakeshorecomics.com, but the website's under construction right now. The link in my little description there will still work, but the main website's under construction. Find me on social at Dave Steinborn. We also have Lakeshore Comics, at Lakeshore Comics on Instagram. So we've got Broken Trident. That's my comic that's out right now. This is the second issue of Broken Trident. It's a story about an underwater sea elf known as their breed is an Etesian. The main character was actually my first D&D character that I ever played in a campaign, and I adapted the D&D story into a comic book. And he's on a quest to figure out who or what destroyed his childhood underwater city.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting is that Dave and I both have comics or both fantasy comics that are sort of clearly fantasy, but when I read Charlie Spot, it read very much to me like it's an epic quest. It's got the map of the park that they're in with all the different like things that he has to go through. It felt very much like the style quest. It's just that it's taking place like in a modern setting in a city park.
Yeah, kind of like a grounded magical realism kind of vibe. Part of where Charlie Spot kind of came from that feeds into what you're talking about is I worked in downtown Boston for 10 years. And I would kind of see these, I don't know if they were homeless. I don't know what their situation was, but what I did know is for 10 years, a handful of people would be in the exact same spot, all year round. And it was kind of that starting to question, like, well, how do you decide who gets what spot? Because they're always there. There never seems to be like an argument about who goes where. So there's got to be a system in place. And that's when it kind of dawned on me that there's a whole world going on that, I just bop in for work and then leave. But like this area is people's homes and I'm the interloper. And so there's that question of like, well, what goes on behind the curtain? What goes on when everybody else is gone? And that was kind of the magical part I wanted to play with, that there's a whole nother world happening that all of us are kind of blind to.
Yeah, let me show people your campaign. We can talk a little bit about that.
Thanks.
Here we are. Okay, here we go. So here's this campaign for Charlie Spawn. As you can see, you got 53 minutes left, 171 backers, and you're fully funded, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
I think we've all managed to hit our funding goal. I just hit mine last night.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'll just scroll down here if there's anything particular you want to talk about, or
I mean, the easiest thing about this book to talk about is everybody that made it. The creators that I worked with just couldn't be more thrilled with. Meredith Laxton was the artist and co-creator, and she was a dream to work with. Like the collaborator you hope to work with, that, you know, she brought so much love and passion on top of her talent to it, that it was wonderful. You know, that dream by the fourth issue where you're just like, it's all shorthand in the script, you know, because you trust each other, you understand each other. And, you know, I know I've learned, and maybe it took me, you know, longer than it should have. But like, the key to making anything, is find great collaborators, paint a target, set up the guardrails, and then get out of their way, you know, and just let them do their thing and shine. And then, I mean, and Meredith, you know, just did that all throughout. And then Ali Pepitone doing our colors, and Taylor Esposito, again, you know, both absolute pros that just elevated every step of the way.
Yeah, it always makes a big difference, you know, when you're working with artists and other creators who get what you're doing.
Yeah. Meredith found a whole, you know, emotion and vibe to tap into that, you know, again, was in the script, was in the idea, but, you know, she was able to make it her own. And like I said, the amount of care and love on top of the talent that she brought to it, was amazing. And what you just scrolled past there came out of the blue last year, which was CBR putting us on their list of 10 comics for people who hate superheroes. And you go through that list, and we are like by far the smallest, most indiest of indie books on that list. You know, it's Saga, Something is Killing the Children, Strangers in Paradise, are on this list. You know, so to be on that group, you know, just blew us away. And when I reached out to our publisher and said, hey, this person just put this list together and put Charlie Spawn on it, who do I have to thank? They're like, we had nothing to do with it. So as I've done as much research as I can, like, just to be like that kind of like fully earned shout out was incredible. Because, you know, y'all know, and anybody listening that makes something, you know what you're trying to do, you know what you're trying to say, and you're hoping that other people will pick up on it and it'll connect with them, but you never know. There's only one way to find out, and that's to do the thing, put it out, and pray. So to have that type of feedback was incredibly validating.
Yeah, that's oh, I made myself big accidentally.
Big, Scott.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's your show.
Yeah, there we go. That's a little better. Yeah, I mean, it's always good to get any kind of feedback in the indie space. Like, you know, I put out a lot of stuff, and I could tell that I have returning backers, so they must be liking it. But I very rarely actually get like any feedback from anyone. Let's see here. Silver Knight Kyle says, George, if you want an insight into the busking world, I've got a few magician friends down under who do day in the life videos that will give you a larger insight into the global community of busking and such. Will translate globally across genres, music, performance, magic. Yeah, Kyle seems to know, I think, everybody. Kyle's got friends everywhere. Luckily, I'm one of them, so he joins me on a lot of these.
Nice. Thank you, man.
Let's see. So their names are Jason Marr, and Mika Harris. So
I had for a while one of my friends, kind of in, again, downtown Boston area. She would busk for the summers as a hula hooper, and that she was definitely someone that kind of put that bug in my ear of like building out this world. So, she's in there. She's absolutely in the book.
we've got some more people coming in. Tartan Phantom. Nice to see Scott lounging on a +3 sofa of ultimate comfort. Yeah, I've taken to calling it the couch of solitude because some of these live streams go so long that my feet can't really handle it. So I just do them lying down now, try and get comfortable. So Dave, I'm going to show Broken Trident here. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about your campaign?
For sure. Before I tell more about my campaign, really quick, I've never heard the term busking before. What does that mean?
It's usually, it's somebody who is, so they're hula hooping and, cliched, they've got their hat out or they've got a bucket and, they're entertaining you. And when it's all done, you throw a buck, you throw some money into the bucket. It could be.
So like any street performer that's.
Yes.
And
yep.
Now, is this is related to them also being homeless, or this is?
No, this is just the environment that our main character Charlie finds himself in.
Oh, okay.
Is this city park of energy of people, of these performers that he's kind of walled himself off from.
Oh, okay.
And through this adventure that he ends up going on with these people who he thought he had nothing in common with, he finds out he's actually got a ton in common with, and they were actually the key to his story.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yes, Tartan Phantom, who's a musician, says, as a musician, busking is playing public for pay.
Oh, okay.
And Kyle says, street performing for money.
Got it.
Yeah, I see. I tend to think of buskers when I on the rare occasions I find myself in New York City going down the subway. There's a guy with a violin and the case is out on the floor. Let me see if I can figure out how to switch back to. Here we go. Broken Trident. So now you mentioned this was one of your D&D characters, and I've our viewers don't know this, but we've appeared on some live streams together before. So I've heard the story of how this came about, but why don't you tell us again, how this came about and how you ended up, making comics?
Yeah. So, like I said, the main character was my first Dungeons and Dragons character that I ever played. And he was a sea elf D&D character. He was a rogue. He had a trident. It wasn't broken in the D&D campaign. It was just a magical trident. And I would always get really into my backstories for D&D. I've created 3 or 4 different D&D characters, and every time I'd create a new character and send the Google Doc to my dungeon master, they would read it and they would call me later and be like, man, your story is like 4 pages longer than every other player character in the campaign. And they were like, we love it, but man, you like to write. And I didn't really realize how much I liked to write until that. And I should say that also includes the fact that when I was a kid, Travis, my co-writer editor, he's my little brother too, and we wrote comics together as kids, but we just did it for fun. And he did more of the writing and I did the crappy art. And I'm not an artist. I didn't do any of this art. I paid Eiler. He's amazing. I'll come back to him. But so when we were kids, we learned we wanted to write comics, and then we got up and had to get these stupid adult jobs.
So stupid.
And a little over 2 years ago, I was at a work from home job at the time and really hating my life. And and I was like, I have to do something else. And I called my brother and was like, hey, remember when we used to write comics as a kid? Let's do that, because I had already started to look into comics launch and Kickstarter and things like that. So I kind of had an idea of how to make it work. And I called Travis and said, let's make this work. And he's like, if you want to hang out, just hang out. You don't have to tell me you want to write comics, you know? and I'm like, no, like I actually want to do this. Like I basically said to him, I'm going to try to do this even if you don't, but I'll do better if you're with me, because he's an English major and he's likes to write, and he's very good at editing and fixing the story. Like the way we describe it is like, I just like word vomit everything onto a Google Doc, and it doesn't have to be good. It just has to be there. And then Travis will pick out the golden nuggets from it and get rid of the rest. And so that's how we got started on it was I called him, said that, and he's like, well, what are we going to write about? And I said, well, I have all these D&D characters that I've created, and I had a D&D campaign that I was writing that I still have never played, because I was going to try my hand at being the DM. And so I had this backstory for this character, multiple other characters that are going to show up later in this series. And he was like, he saw Janor and saw that he was a sea elf, and he was like, no way, this is insane. That's my brother right there. And he was like, I have a character that I have created that he was going to try to write, just go straight to graphic novel form and skip the comics. And he has a character named Zadrin that is also a sea elf, and he's the one that coined the term Atetian. That's the name of the race. And he's like, this is like meant to be. Like we both created these characters unknowingly from one another, and then brought them together. So when we get to like a cover or something, I'll show you. The blue guy is Zadrin, and that's Travis's character that he created. And then on top of all that, when I was doing the D&D campaign, I had paid this artist, Eiler, to commission art for our D&D campaign. So then when it came time to write comics, I said, hey, do you do comics too? He said, yes. Oh, I'm going to pause my story for a second. I'm just absolutely in love with that cover that you're on right now.
It's a great cover, man.
That New Mutants cover. I that's not Eiler. That's a different artist I had paid to do it. And there's Zadrin, the one with the blue face. And I'm going to frame that one and hang it up once I get it printed. Like I'm so in love with that cover. But anyway, so then we talked to Eiler about this, and turns out Eiler has he's from the Philippines, and there's a lot of like Filipino lore about like underwater sea creatures. And he had been really into drawing underwater sea creatures. I'm going to pause one more time. I don't know if you guys know Nathan Luth. He's in the Comics Launch program, but he drew that cover right there.
Nice.
So it was so perfect that me and Travis and Eiler all had this underwater stuff that we were really into, and we're able to meld it into one story. And kind of circling back to something George said earlier about like the script just kind of becoming shorthand. We're only on our second issue, and we've already kind of got that with Eiler, where the first issue we were very strict on what we were going to write, and how we wanted the panels to look. And now we just kind of tell Eiler, like, this is kind of the generalized story and what we want going on in this scene, and this scene. We're not giving him a page count necessarily. Sometimes we are, to keep it reasonable, but we're just telling him kind of like in general what's going on in the story. And then he sends us pages, and then we finish the script after we've got the art, because we can adapt to what he wrote or what he drew. So it's just kind of worked out perfectly. There you can see that's the first and second issue. There's Zadrin again I was talking about. And that How to Build an Army, if you scroll back up just for a second. So that comic right there, Eiler wrote and drew that one. Oh, very cool. I asked, that's a manga style. It looks comic size because I just made that image on Comic Creator or whatever, but Cover Creator. But when I asked Eiler if he was a comic artist as well, he sent me that comic and showed me multiple different styles. And so he already had that one published in the Philippines, and then it says Lakeshore Comics on it because we published it or crowdfunded it on Kickstarter a couple of months back. So.
Oh, nice. No, that's an amazing story of how like everybody's interests all line up by accident.
Perfectly.
Like your brother said, like, just it's fate.
Yeah, it was. Oh, there's our Lego minifigures too.
Oh, I got to talk to you about that then.
Yeah, I stole that idea from Rob Multari, Nightwolf.
Yeah.
He has Lego minifigures in his, so I just sent him a message and asked where he gets them from. It's Justin at Saber Scorpion. He like essentially hand makes those, and so
That's awesome.
I thought I had one sitting next to me. Oh yeah, I do. Yeah. Here's Janor.
Oh, that's awesome. All the things you can make for these Kickstarters, they're dangerous.
Oh yeah, because it ends up costing a lot, but it like some of it we dumbed down the tchotchkes, if you will, for this campaign. We had a lot in the other one, and just learned that like kind of what people like and what was kind of maybe a waste of money, and as you can see, those things they're expensive like that for a reason, because my cost for them is high. Because he has to sit and put those stickers on each and every one.
Right.
Yeah, making this sort of thing. My very first campaign that I did for my first comic, Crime Busters #1, I offered some Crime Busters Funko Pops because they make blank Funko Pops that you can just buy that are completely white, and then I hand painted them, turning them into my characters, and man, it was really hard and it took a long time. So I only did that the one time, and I was like, nope, that's too much work.
I'd like to do that like for myself, but I don't know that I could handle doing it for a campaign, because if you end up getting, if that ends up being a popular tier and you sell even like 10 of them, how many did you sell when you did that?
2.
Okay, well, at least it wasn't too bad.
So there was one of each of the characters, and I only got 2, so I did those, and I was gonna do like another pair of them for myself, but it was so much work that I never did. And I was like, no, never mind.
Right. I have an idea for a big tchotchke that I want to do, and I found a guy on Fiverr to pay, and I've already paid him for the design, and it's to have a life-size Broken Trident, both ends of it, the one with the blade, the one with the trident. And my son has a 3D printer, and I gave him the file that the guy gave me from Fiverr, and he was like, I can't, my printer won't do this, like it's too big. Like I can do it, but it'll be like the 3 prongs of the trident would have to be 3 sections, then put together, then the staff, then the other staff, then the blade. But I have another friend that has a bigger 3D printer, and at some point I'm going to do that, maybe because we're going to do 5 issues of this on a graphic novel. So I'm thinking on the graphic novel, I'm going to print like 3 of them or something, like not a lot, because it's going to be a lot to print, and then I got to hand paint them and just have that at like a $500 tier or something, like some high up tier.
Yeah.
And I maybe won't even print them until I get a backer for it or whatever. I'm definitely going to print one for myself and hang it on my wall at some point. But that's, those add-ons can get out of hand.
Let's see. We got a few comments here. Kyle says, I was chased out of the ocean by a feisty puffer fish while snorkeling in the Philippines. So much for me being a tough Marine.
I feel like I want to add a puffer fish scene to my comic now.
And he says, Joni loves tchotchkes. Yeah. I don't want to say we encourage the puns, but we tolerate it. I missed this one here. Kyle, I loved helping Mark hype your books in the UK and was beside myself seeing the few Cthulhu versus Uncle Sam variants sell on a recent Whatnot auction. Keep the buzz going. Well, first of all, again, I appreciate Kyle you doing that. Kyle had put me in touch with a gentleman who has a comic store in the UK, and he's been selling some of my comics over there. I
Fantastic.
didn't see the Whatnot option. I actually haven't talked to Mark in a while, so I'm glad to see that they're selling. Not just because it's nice for my books to be selling, but like I want Mark to be able to do well as well because he put a lot of faith in me. So I appreciate that. And Tartan Phantom says, "Dang it, Scott! That means there's only a 0.01% chance that I'll ever see a Granny Gumshoe minifig. If I can figure out a way to do the minifigs, like I have thought about doing the Lego custom fig, so I might try that at some point to see if there's a market for it. One thing I've learned with my current campaign, I guess I'll show Quest now, is
I can't wait to read Quest.
Yeah,
is that my reader base apparently is not that interested in the foil and metal covers, because I offered those for the first time with this, and don't think I got any takers on either of those. So
I'm glad to hear that, because I actually was working with Comic Impressions on doing some foil and metal covers, and the process was taking me a long time, and
I've never done it before either. But I see some campaigns do really, really well with them. So I thought I'd offer them and see what the demand is. And I have a tier that's all of the covers. And so I've got 2 people that have picked that. Those are the only 2 people that are getting the metal and the foil. So I'd originally planned on making like 25 metal and 50 foil or something, but I think I probably are going to end up doing like 6 or 7 of each and just have like a super, super rare variant, because it just doesn't seem the demand is there. So we can see here I've got 32 minutes left and we're at 33:55. My first stretch goal is at 3,400. So hopefully we'll get that. I usually do trading cards for my stretch goals. I love doing the trading cards. So I'm doing that again this time in case we hit there. And here's the regular cover. This is by the interior artist, Marcos Lima, who I met on Facebook. There's a group there called the Connecting Comic Writers and Artists.
I'm in that group.
Yeah, I've met most of my artists actually through there. Not all of them, but Marcos is really good. I was really happy with the work he did on this. This is the regular cover. I'm a big believer, even though there's really no reason for this on Kickstarter, but I like to have the regular cover always be done by the interior artist.
That's what I've done on mine too.
Still, traumatized as a child by having like some really cool like Neil Adams cover, and then you open it up and it's like Al Milgrom inside, and so that can't really happen on Kickstarter. So I'm not sure why I'm still doing that, but yeah. Anyway, so Quest it's an epic fantasy, as I say here. It's about a ragtag band of adventurers charged with an impossible mission with the fate of the world at stake. It's kind of my love letter to Dungeons and Dragons and epic fantasy. For my milestone goals, I did a thing where I was saying all the loot's trapped in a gelatinous cube, and we need more party members to defeat the cube.
I love that.
So every time we get another 10 levels, we'd free another item out of the cube. Nice. So we unlocked a bunch of them, and then I had to have a map because I love how fantasy books. When I get like a fantasy novel, if there's not a map in the front, I'm like, I don't know. There's no map.
We had a map in Broken Trident number 1 too, and I want to expand on that soon.
Yeah. And got the first 5 pages here as a sample. And I wish that there was an easier way for Kickstarter. It has the 680 pixel width, because this here is a 2-page spread, so it's going to be really big and dramatic. I'm a huge fan of Warlord, if any of you remember that series from the 70s and early mid 80s. But every issue would have a 2-page spread. When you turn the first page, there'd be a giant action scene. So I'm trying to do that with Quest and have a lot of action, because I just love those epic fantasy comics. And I got a bunch of really good artists to do covers and stuff for me. This is Erwin J. Arosa. He does a lot of covers for Kickstarter series. I had seen his work on other Kickstarters, and it's got this like sort of what I associate as like an 80s movie poster vibe, which is exactly what I wanted. So I hired him to do this, and everyone seems to really like it.
I love that cover, and
Yeah.
that guy on the left, you could hire Chris Pine to play him in your live action series.
Well, if we get to the live action series, we'll.
Every time I see that, I just think, God, that looks like Chris Pine.
The colors on that are gorgeous.
It's so awesome. I love that cover.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm colorblind, so like
my son is too.
It's it's usually not too bad, but for me, I really need super high contrast to see the colors. So I think I'm losing almost everything on the colors here because there's not a lot of contrast for me, particularly since I'm red-green colorblind.
And this is like 80% red.
Yeah, so like my wife's looked at it and says it looks really good color-wise, but I can't really see it.
What color does it look like to you then?
There's like a lot of yellows but overall it's just sort of like a lot of like tan.
Oh, okay.
It's like 8 or 9 different shades of tan going into darker brown kind of.
Got it.
I know I'm missing a lot of vibrant colors, but I can't really see any of them.
Let's just add to the chorus that they nailed it.
Yeah, I'm glad people seem to really like that one. So I'm still trying to figure out where I am money wise, but hopefully I'll be able to afford to have him do some more covers for me in the future because I really like that. This is one that I drew myself. It's an homage to Conan the Barbarian #1. So when I say I drew it myself, all the good parts were drawn by, or me copying Barry Windsor Smith. And anything on here that doesn't look right is because I messed it up. Okay, so I've got to give him the real credit. And the same here for my D&D module cover, which is an homage to art by a D&D artist named Errol Otis. His cover for a module called The Lost Caverns of Sojanth. But this version is the one that has extra pages. There's going to be 8 bonus pages of supplemental D&D material, or it's from Old School Essentials, which is a D&D emulator, emulator sort of old school system. So if people want to play the story from the comic, they can play it in their own home game. So it's going to have like the set. There's like a mini adventure that's in the dwarven city they go to. It's gonna have the rules for the paladin, for the main character. It's gonna have the special like monster manual entry for the monster they fight in the comic. We actually recorded a session of my wife and I playing, and one of our friends playing through the game with our dungeon master who helped me with the material, but unfortunately it didn't get edited in time, so it hasn't been posted yet anywhere. I was hoping to get it this week so I could show it to everybody, but
what I love about that and the stuff that you've shown off is just the creativity in tying together the extras with the core and with the heart of the comic. I think that's a smart way of expanding, the offerings.
Thanks. I always try and I like doing the theme stuff, but I mainly just try and come up with stuff I want for my own collection, stuff that I like myself. So, which in fact, one of the covers I'll show in a minute. I'll talk about in a second. But first, this is Carlos Herrera, who does Night Wolf with Rob Multari.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's
amazing.
This is the one I was really surprised that there's a metal version of this, but I think I just didn't quite have the outreach to get the Carlos Herrera fans to know about the campaign. I didn't really get any backers on that. There's definitely people that are getting the regular one, just not the metal one.
Did he share it though, like with his own followers?
I don't think so. No.
See, and that's unfortunate. I feel like, and not no bad mouthing Carlos or anything, but like I feel like that's like key to getting.
Yeah, he may have. I didn't see it, and so I had a thing happen where just before I was about to launch, like the book's all mostly done. I'm just finishing the lettering and a little bit of color touching, which is ironic because I'm colorblind. But I do finish, like I have a flatter, but I do all the rest of the colors myself after the flat. Is that she had a different symbol on her outfit before, which is similar to this, but it was like a Celtic cross with a cross piece. And I discovered that it's something I had never heard of this, but there's apparently some like white supremacy hate groups that use that symbol.
Oh no.
So at the last minute, I had to go in and redraw her outfit through the entire comic. And so like Irwin was able, I asked Irwin if I could, pay him to fix it. And he just did it for free. He's like, no problem. He just did it. But Carlos, like Nightwolf number 7 was live on Kickstarter, just ended like a week before we launched.
Did Rob share you out? I imagine he did.
I think so. I think he did. But Carlos is basically, he was just too busy with the Nightwolf campaign, so he wasn't able to do the corrections. So I actually corrected her outfit here, which took a long time because I wanted to make sure it looked exactly like his art. So I like zoomed in like to like 800%, and it was drawing with like pixel by pixel to change that. But yeah, it was just a thing where I think he was too busy with the Nightwolf 7 campaign to really do any promotion for this. So I was unfortunate. But here's the foil variant, which isn't going to look anything like this simulation. I was just trying to figure out what it would look like. And it doesn't matter because only a couple of people are getting it. And then my terrible animation to show what a metal cover would look like. But this is the one I was going to mention when I was saying I try and do things I want for myself. This cover is one that's only available if you get as an add-on. And it's I don't know if you remember the Unending Quest Pick a Path to Adventure books that D&D put out. I was not planning on doing this, but there was one afternoon where I was just like really burnt out from working the campaign. I was like, I'm just going to draw for a little while to relax. And I ended up just making this. I took obviously the art from Marcos Limo, and I just did all the graphic design and the dragon and all that stuff. Just because I thought it would be cool because I love those books. And then once I got a little ways into it, I was like, I need to have this in my own collection as a cover. So that's when I decided to actually make it available to everyone else so that, if I thought other people might like it, but I did this just completely on a lark because I thought it would be fun for myself.
Again, a great, it makes sense, like, yes, it may have come from a selfish, this is something I want, but it actually fits into the campaign. So if people are checking it out, it all shares the same DNA.
Yeah. And this is the back cover, which I'm going to leave black and white because I want it to look like those illustrations from the D&D like handbooks and stuff from back in the day. This is a guy named Raleigh Marshadesh, and he's already done the back cover illustrations like this for issues 2 and 3 as well. So I haven't shown those off yet, but I thought it really captured the feel of those, when you're reading like the Monsters Manual or the Player's Handbook from like 1980.
Yeah, it's great.
Those illustrations. So, all right.
And dude, you just clicked off of it, but actually, and Dave, you also just impressed with the page layouts. Like this might be like super in the weeds and Kickstarter geeky stuff, but like I just don't have the design skills. Like when I Photoshop, basically you're giving a hammer to a monkey. So seeing
you're talking about the Kickstarter page or the comic pages?
The page, the Kickstarter page.
Oh, okay.
And the design of it all. Very impressed with
Thank
y'all.
You.
And
so I followed the comics launch program, and I also learned how to use Canva. And And Canva is completely free, and it is so awesome. Like, it's so easy to use. It automatically lines your pictures up centered or wherever you want them. And so I use literally every image on my Kickstarter page, and I don't work for Canva. I'm not plugging them, but every image on my Kickstarter page, other than like straight out of the comic images, are all done in Canva.
Yeah.
And
My son. Oh, sorry.
awesome. Go ahead. It's just really good. I just really like it. So
yeah, my son, 13, just wrapped up 8th grade. He did a bunch of projects where he kind of took the graphic design lead for these group projects and just made stuff in Canva and then started doing it on his own just because he was enjoying it. So yeah,
it's super easy to use, very, very user friendly. So
all right, we got a few comments to catch up on. Well, when I'm on those other pages scrolling down, I can't see any of the comments, so I've missed a whole bunch of them. So I'll show them here. May contain hijinks. We're going back a little while in the conversation, so cast your mind back to 15 minutes ago. Waves and greeting at George. Adult jobs are definitely stupid. Sometimes fun, sometimes entertaining, but definitely stupid. I'm not going to make any comment on that in case someone from my work is watching.
I don't even care if someone from
I understand.
my adult job is.
Yeah,
I do like my job, but it is stupid. I either need to win the Powerball or become a really successful comic creator. And if I win the Powerball, I feel like I'll be able to become a successful comic creator because I'll have the revenue to push my comic out there.
Right. Yeah.
May contain hijinks says on Kickstarter backer extras. As a backer, sometimes all the extras that Kickstarters offer can be overwhelming. Fun but overwhelming. One thing
I agree
that we're all in comics launch, so I hadn't seen or heard about this until Tyler mentioned it yesterday. But that Kickstarter changed the UI for their page yesterday, and I was like, "There's 2 days left. I don't have time to change all this stuff."
I didn't know they did that.
They did a thing where if you look at your rewards, it used to have a bullet point list of your rewards. Now it has a thing that says like reward plus 2 others, and there's a button that says details. And if you click on that, it'll list everything. And they're saying
it's easier now.
Well, they were saying that you can now add images to your individual items as well. But that if you do that, when people
just to the reward,
when you click on it, it shows not just all the items, but all of the add-ons. So it'll have like 35 different pictures there. So they said it's actually really confusing visually. So I may not end up doing that. I'll have to see what it looks like for my next campaign, but it seemed a little too much.
Did you add your images to your reward tiers though?
The reward tiers, yeah.
And this was my first campaign where that was available.
Yeah, my last campaign, they added it when I had like 4 days left. Tartan Phantom says, not a fan of foil covers. Prefer the matte spot finish on good quality stock. I do like guest artist variants and homage variants. Well, I love doing the homage covers. Most of the covers that I draw myself, quote unquote myself, are homage covers. Because as people that watch my YouTube channel know, I've been collecting for 40 years and I love the old stuff. So I always like to do those. Like the Broken Trident homage that you have to New Mutants 87. Which I have to say, I didn't say this on the last time we were on, but since we're on my channel, where I do a lot of vintage stuff, I wanted to mention for the old school fans that the New Mutants 87 cover by Rob Liefeld is, I can't call it an homage because he didn't credit it, but it's a swipe of the Avengers 145 cover by Gil Kane. So if you look at Avengers 145, instead of the circles, he's got they're on cards, like playing cards.
Oh yeah, I just pulled it up right now.
But it's very clear, particularly if you see the pose of the guy with the gun is exactly the same as Cable.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So it's like a double homage. You're also getting the Avengers 145 crowd. Silver Knight Kyle says, is your letter page on this new series going to be called Questions and Answers? I thought I might call it chain mails, or I think that's what the Conan one used to be called, was chain mails. So I might call it that, or scale mails or something like that. Tartan Fam, the gelatinous cube thing was super clever. Thanks, I appreciate it. I'm toying next time with doing the same sort of thing, but basically like a dragon's lair. So a bunch of treasure and a dragon. And what I think I'm going to do is every time we get like 10 or maybe 20 new backers, I'm going to add one of our heroes to the picture. So they're being filled in fighting the dragon. But that's a lot more work because I have to draw it where those are all separate layers so I can add them in their poses. So we'll see. We'll see if I actually do that. Main contain hijinks. The movie poster cover is amazing. I was very pleased with it. I actually should show here if I can figure out how to do it. And after we do the comments, I'm going to show everyone's campaign again because we're getting down to the last 15 minutes for both of us, and the last hour and 15 minutes for Dave's campaign. Let me see if I can show you this. One of the add-ons, not add-ons, one of the stretch goals that we hit is that everyone's going to be getting a print of the original black and white artwork for that cover. So let me see if I can share it.
So Dave, are you Central Time Zone, or are you just went rogue on your own? And
no,
I'm in it at 1.
No, I'm Central. I'm in Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately,
I can't seem to. It doesn't look like I can actually.
Are you enjoying
share
your three weeks of spring and summer?
Yeah, there is no spring. There's no fall. Those are myths. We have winter and 2.5 months of summer. I'm moving as soon as my last kid graduates.
Well, unfortunately, it doesn't look like I can share this. Sorry.
What did you say, George?
I was saying, how soon?
My daughter just turned 10, so I have 8 more years.
Yeah.
But I'm out. I'm going to Hawaii or Arizona or somewhere where it's always warm. I cannot handle these winters anymore.
Yeah. Those are on the list. San Diego. That's on.
I looked at San Diego, but I love to surf, and the ocean's like always cold there.
Oh, okay.
Like there's like 2 months where you can surf without a wetsuit.
Gotcha.
But that was on my list until I found that out. I've been to San Diego and love it, but
yeah.
Got just a couple more comments, and then let me show everyone's campaign again before we run out of time here. Kyle says, I see the soundtrack being a Tool Questlove crossover. It's interesting you should say that because actually there's a Tool song called Descending from their last album that I just listened to on repeat the whole time I'm writing the scripts for Quest. And it's particularly the story in issues 2 and 3 is a 2-parter. And that song is really the feel for those 2 issues. So,
what's the name of the song again?
It's called Descending.
Okay, I love Tool, but I don't know that one off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's one of their like epic 13.5 minute. The first minute is just like a slow sound, but it's one of those things. So I usually start about a minute and 20 seconds is where the music actually begins. Tartan Fam says, how about future Quest campaigns, a bookmark featuring a nice illustration of Vessa's sword? I'll think about it, but the characters in the series are kind of going to level up as the issues go along. And so they're going to get better equipment and new things. So Vessa's getting a new sword. No spoilers, but in issue 3, she's going to get a new sword. And then there's another sword she's going to eventually get. So it'd be, I have to decide like what I want to do with that. May contain hijinks says, Dave. Oh, Dave's gone. There's a comment for Dave, but Dave disappeared. I think Thanos snapped him.
Oh no.
All right. Well, we'll show that when he comes back. Let me show the campaigns again real quick. Let me start with Charlie Spot because we're getting down just 12 minutes left to back these if you're interested. And
yeah, man. I mean, there is a Scott bump because we've had like almost $200 in just the 50 minutes we've been talking.
Wow.
So if anybody has backed who's listening to this, I truly appreciate it. I love this book. I am proud of this book. It is a book that grown men have told me has made them weep, and that is the greatest compliment I could get on this one. And so thank you for checking it out, for supporting it, and letting me do one of my favorite things, which is sending my creations out into the world.
Well, again, I've read the first issue. I'm planning on getting the rest. I'm sure I'll see you at some convention soon.
Absolutely.
I don't think I've mentioned this on my channel yet, but maybe I did. I finally got into mice this year. First time, 5 years of flying. Thank you. So I'm excited for that.
That is a fantastic show for comic creators. I've had a chance to do it twice. And it is one of the best shows that I've gotten a chance to do. So congratulations, man. That's fantastic.
Thanks. I've been applying for years and has finally got in.
Yeah.
All right. And let's Dave's not there, but let me show mine then. Since I've only got 10 minutes left on Quest. Let me see. Quest number 1. So let me scroll back up and see how we're doing on Quest. Ooh, we just got some backers there.
That's always fun.
I'm gonna refresh it just in case, because sometimes it doesn't quite. So we're at 143 backers, 3450. That means we did hit the stretch goal, the first stretch goal, and so that means that we're going to be doing a trading card for Vess, our paladin here, but also I've got a. Let me see if I can show a picture of it. I had a little crappy picture in the last update, but I'm going to be giving the physical backers an old school essentials D&D character sheet for Vess that we've worked out.
Right.
And we're adding some extra pages to the comic too. This is an illustration that
beautiful.
It came out really well. We had it was originally all gray, it was done entirely in gray, and so it was very dark as a result, because it was just a lot of dark grays. But once the colorist came in, it really brought it to life. The art was always really excellent. It was just again, with me, I really need the high contrast to be able to see the stuff, even when it's all gray. So that's going to be a pinup in the comic itself. So there's still 6 minutes left on both of our campaigns.
Yeah,
for last minute people.
So I'm curious, because both of you have D&D themed stories, and Dave, I kind of know as an adult that the comics came after the D&D, but as a kid getting into whatever you were into, what kind of came first? Was it the comics kind of led to D&D? D&D led to comics?
So as a kid, I wasn't into D&D at all. I'd heard of it, but I really didn't even know exactly what it was. My comic inspiration was all X-Men. I'm 40 years old. I started reading X-Men when I was 8, which is right around the time issue 300 came, the Bishop's first appearance, 282 led, I remember distinctly when 300 came out. Immediately got into back issues, read the Muir Island saga, which led up to Bishop's first appearance and all that, and even the older ones, Inferno, things like that. Just huge X-Men fan. My middle child's name is Logan.
My son's name is Logan.
Nice, so, nice, yeah. And that was 100% because of Wolverine. Just huge X-Men fan. As an adult, my nephew, you maybe saw him walking around in the background here a little while ago. He lives with me. He's only 10 years younger than me. And my oldest son, DJ, those two and I were talking about D&D one day, and my nephew went and bought the 5th edition starter kit. And so I DM'd hold on, my dog has a shoe.
Not his shoe.
No. So I DM'd the starter kit story. I can't even think of the name of it off the top of my head for 5th edition, but I didn't know what I was doing. Half the time we played, I was looking up how to play and how to do, how to DM. And then we kind of quit for a little bit. And then my nephew was working a job where he met someone that actually knew how to DM. and that's where we really got into playing D&D, and that was about 4 or 5 years ago. So that the comics came first, and then D&D. Comic reading came first, then D&D, and then writing actually writing comics. Like I said, I wrote them as a kid, but those were terrible.
For me, it was the other way around. I'm a decade older than Dave. I just turned 50. So when I was 7, I started playing D&D the summer of 1980, and getting into comics took a little while. There's a lot of like steps, like reading the Atari Force mini comics that came with the cartridges was one of them. But also D&D actually was one of my gateways, because I used to buy Dragon magazine, and there were comics in the back of Dragon magazine. There's one called Snarf Quest that I really liked by Elmore. And so I used to read that, and that's how I got in. I started reading comics in 1984. And when I first started reading comics, I wasn't buying any superhero stuff. It was all fantasy, science fiction, mostly like licensed stuff. So it was like war comics. So I was reading Black Hawk, Warlord. I was reading Conan and Red Sonja and like Star Wars, Micronauts, stuff like that. And I started buying Thor because I thought it was Walt Simonson's run, so it seemed like a fantasy comic. And then at the end of that storyline, the superheroes like Avengers and Fantastic Four appeared in it for the climax, and that's how I started getting the superhero comics. But it was D&D came first for me, and then the comics.
Gotcha. Well, Scott, we got like 2 minutes left. You want
2 minutes? Yeah.
You want to throw your campaign up, and that can be our New Year's Eve haul?
Yeah, I usually like to count down that last. Let's see if I can remember how to do it again.
Oh, and Scott, again, I lied. The Scott bump is now up to like $300. So again, if anybody,
I don't think I can take credit for that, but
I'm gonna give you credit for it.
I'm gonna give you credit for. I'm assuming I'm gonna give you credit for. You haven't pulled mine back up yet, right? You didn't pull it up when I was.
No, not yet. I thought once we.
Yeah, do yours first because you end first. But I got a huge bump, and I can only credit it to Scott. So.
So again, if anybody's watching this, I mean, personally, I thank you, but on behalf of the three of us and all of like the indie comics people who use Kickstarter as a way to be able to tell our stories and get them directly to you, I can't tell you how much your support is appreciated. Like y'all are the reason that we can keep coming back and doing this. These are all, these aren't one shots. We're hoping to tell bigger stories, and y'all are letting us. Y'all are letting us.
Yeah, I really appreciate. Yesterday I was still $300 short of funding. And so, when I put out a bunch of things saying, hey, we're going to need a little help to get funded. And everybody in the indie comics community on Facebook, everyone was sharing it and posting it. And I know a number of people backed it because they wanted to make sure that I got funded. So I really appreciate it very much. Once our timer runs out here in 35 seconds, we'll show Dave's campaign, and then we'll see how Charlie Spot does. I think right at the end, I'll show a couple teasers if I can figure out how. I already have the art done for issues 2 and 3 of Quest, so it's nice. Black and white, but I can show a couple cool things from that. So it looks like we've got 15 seconds left. Looks like we're going to end here at 34:50. So I really appreciate all the support. And 143 backers is great. The fact that there's 143 people that want this to exist is really awesome. I've been doing Crime Busters now for 4.5 years. I just finished issue 5, and it took me 4.5 years to get over 100 people on Crime Busters. So starting with 143 is really good for Quest, which is great because I've got a lot of stuff planned for that.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
So let's take a quick look at see how Charlie Spot ended, and then we'll take a look at Broken Trident again.
Like legit, I'm fucking thrilled. yeah, again, not to get in too much into the Kickstarter. Oh, cool. We get the confetti over here too. We talk about our dead zones, and I hit it, and I was like, okay, and I know there'll be a bump at the end and all that stuff. But I honestly thought, okay, we'll probably, if we can get 140 backers, that'd be a good campaign. And then this whole fucking ecosystem went nuts over these last 2 days to, hitting 180, going over 6,000. Yesterday I was like, oh, we'll do a super, let's get crazy if we can cross 6,000. And again, literally while we've been talking, it just shot right past that. So yeah, this again, to bring you all behind the curtain real quick, like this stuff is like it's like humbling and empowering at the same time. Seeing the support and seeing the amount of damage 143 people can do, 180 people can do. Like, y'all have a lot of power for good. That I know I appreciate and just don't take advantage.
Yeah, and it looks like just in those couple minutes when we come back to mine, you got some more backers that went in there in those last 2 or 3 minutes. Let's see, we got Kyle. Tartan Phantom says, made an argument recently that direct-to-owner comics is the way of the future. I like it because I know my money is going to the creative team instead of some megacorp.
Yeah.
Well,
it's not even the megacorp. Like, yes, there are megacorps, but even the smaller non-megacorps, it's hard. I was able to raise 61 and change from 180 people. Scott, you were able to get over 34 from 140 people. If that were our royalty check or whatever from any company, we're talking thousands of issues that need to get sold through there. So just, as Tartan was talking about, yeah, this is for I think most of the people who want to make comics, this is what logically makes sense.
Yeah, and the direct market has been messed up for so long. Like the whole system's broken, and I don't think it's sustainable. I think this is the future of comics,
or at least the first step. Like letting us build these things, pay our artists, maybe even pay ourselves.
Hopefully,
and then if and we've seen this a lot where a successful Kickstarter, someone will pick it up and then bring it to the direct market. That at least is a financially viable way of like I said, everybody gets paid. Hopefully paid closer to what they're worth. And then you get that thrill, which is 100% a thrill of seeing your stuff on the shelves on a Wednesday. Like that's one of those tangible moments that like really makes it feel great. But this kind of like 2-step process, and again, people taking the risk and showing the support for what we're doing. It's it's what makes this stuff viable.
Yeah. Tartan Phantom says the worst is when the backer counter starts going backwards, like the clock and risky business. That can be a little disheartening. I'm thrilled with all the support, so I've got nothing bad to say. But having said that, this Kickstarter was the hardest one I've done. It seems like each one gets harder. I had several sort of bad actors, scam artists coming in and backing at really high levels and then canceling. Like there was one point in the campaign where I had, I think, $1,500 in backing, and I had almost $1,000 in canceled pledges on top of that. And it was just like, it was really difficult for a while. But it's all worked out. Let's take a look and see how Broken Trident is doing, because while Charlie Spot and Quest are now in the books, there's still just under an hour left to back Broken Trident if you'd like. So let's take a quick look at that. Oh, we've gone over the $4,000 mark while we've been talking.
I got to do another stretch goal now. So, and I've already been messaging that backer. It was 2 backers, one very big one, and I want to. Is there someone named Hijinks watching the show with us right now?
May contain hijinks.
That's what I thought. So that they signed off as Hijinks on their message to me. So I hope they're still watching, so I can just personally say thank you, because it was a very big play. They did the drawn into the comic pledge. So
That's
nice.
awesome.
Yeah.
the very very big one. Very I am very grateful. I had refreshed a couple times as we were in the show here, and I didn't refresh, but I just had it up on my other monitor, and we were talking, and I looked over there, and I was like, whoa, like big jump. There you go. Thank you so much. I love you. So hopefully you become a fan for life here, and I'll see you back on the next one, because I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Kind of like we were just talking about, like there's the dynamic of this. You know, I've never been a writer for a real publisher or whatever, but like the interaction with your fans directly like this. You know, we had a signing at my local comic book shop. I know the owner very well. The former co-owner of that shop actually drew one of our variant covers for our first issue. And he was no longer the co-owner when we did the signing, but he came in and he signed some of his copies for some people. But my like big takeaway from that signing that day was me and my brother had this little booth. Our family was there, a couple friends, you know, not a lot of people came in, but enough. A few people that weren't even there to see us picked up our book because they were talking to us. But at one point, someone that was just a customer, I shouldn't say just a customer, but like a customer that wasn't there for us, I was talking to us for a fair amount of time, just kind of learning about how that we wrote this comic ourselves. And we had someone waiting in line to talk to us, just one person. There was the guy talking to us and one behind him. And I kept kind of glancing back and like, is this guy waiting to talk to us? and then like this other person walked away, and this dude walked up and he was like, hey, I found your comic in here in the store, because our local comic shop did the retailer tier for 10 issues. So he bought it organically from our comic shop, knew we were coming in, and stood in line to talk to us. And like, I've got chills right now telling that story. Like, it was so awesome that, like, you know, we're just these dudes that work regular jobs, and this is our passion. This isn't our moneymaker. And someone wanted to talk to us and get our signatures and meet the person that created this comic that they loved. And like, I just loved that. Like, it was just amazing. So, you know, rolling that back to why I started, like that, to thank backers tonight, not just hijinks, but I'll read what he's saying.
It says, you're doing all the hard work, sir, so I should be thanking you. Thus starts the Uno reverse card of thank you, no thank you.
Well, I accept your thank you and I give you a thank you.
And then they say, technically all of you doing the hard work, so thank you for creating comics.
It means a lot.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here and supporting the comics. You know, people that just love comics. So I've got a collection upstairs of 8,000 comics or whatever.
Damn.
And I now have a box that just says Crime Buster Comics, and it's just all my own stuff in it. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I've gotten to do some really cool things with some really cool artists. People that watched the channel before are aware of this, but I did a collection. One of my characters that I have in Crime Busters is a public domain character from the Golden Age. So I did an 80th anniversary 100-page giant where I reprinted some of the public domain stories from the Golden Age, plus my first issue, which references those stories. And a friend of mine who I met through the comic, because he's a fan of that Golden Age character and had seen me at a show and bought it, and we become friends. He many years ago had commissioned the old classic Marvel artist George Tuska to do a cover with the character, and he gave me permission to use it. So now I've got a George Tuska cover on one of my comics.
That's awesome.
And Tuska had actually worked on this character in the 1940s during the original run in the late 40s. So like that's something I never thought I'd have something like that. So yeah, so there's 49 minutes left on Broken Trident. There's a couple other campaigns. I know we're running up long here, but there's a couple other campaigns I wanted to mention real quick.
Yeah. Spread the love.
That I wanted to give shout outs to. One of them's not live yet, but Sam Johnson with Geek Girl has been sharing projects, is sharing, my project quite a bit. So I wanted to just share this. Geek Girl's got a new deluxe jump on issue, which is designed for new readers to sort of catch up. So that is in the pre-launch. So you can hit the notify me on launch button right here. Look, I'll do it right now. Boop.
I'm gonna do that right now too. I've backed Sam before, so
yeah. So I'm not sure when that's launching, but that's coming soon. So I wanted to mention that. And I also wanted to give a shout out just to another project that is live and is actually in the last 48 hours. And that is Broke Down in 4 Dead Bodies from Travis Gibb.
yes.
When I first got into comics, my second issue of Crime Busters was the first one where I did any cross promotion with anybody. And one of the first ones I cross promoted was the first issue of Broke Down in 4 Dead Bodies. And here he's doing a trade collecting the whole series. They've got 36 hours left and they're still $900 short of the goal. Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that, Travis does a lot of good comics and does a lot in the indie comics community. So
he helps out a lot. I've been on his show before too. And I love Travis. Like he's amazing. And so he cares so much about the community.
Yeah. So if I'm trying to remember what the tagline was back at the time, I should probably scroll down, but it's kind of like a Pulp Fiction sort of action thing. So give it a look if that's the sort of thing you like. 36 hours left on that.
Yeah, again, like y'all were saying, like Travis.
That was me. I just watched it go up.
Yeah, I mean, Travis has been doing it for a while. I mean, he's one of the guys I look at, when trying to solve problems or get inspiration from. And he's constantly putting energy into the universe. So like it's time to shine some of it back on him.
For sure.
Oh, I think I might have finally got this to work. So just to share this here. This is the black and white.
Oh, cool.
That's cool too.
I like that a lot.
I almost did like an ash can version where I was going to do just print the whole comic in black and white with this for the cover. But I started thinking I had too many variants. So I decided, but this is going to be, so anyone that's backed the back quests at a physical level will get a 6x10 comic size print of this.
Nice.
It was also going to be in the PDF. So if you got the digital version, you'll get to see that as well. And I mentioned I've got the art for the issues 2 and 3 of Quest are both finished. They're not colored yet, but I wanted to show you a couple really cool things. Let's see. This is one of the variant covers for issue 2.
Cool.
Really loved how this came out. It's an artist by the name of Mannix, and I'm definitely going to be hiring him again because I absolutely love how this came out.
I'm just catching, again, I'm a writer, so take this for, whatever it's worth. But I'm just noting just some of just the wrinkles in the clothing and the details like that.
Yeah.
That are really just, it's the small details that are jumping out, just taking it in, knee-jerk reaction.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so...
And she just looks badass.
I'm going to have this colored soon. Just been so busy with the campaign that I haven't had a chance to talk to the colorist, but he's just waiting for me to send it to him. And the other one I wanted to show is the the regular cover for issue 3. Oh, I'm not sure I can show that.
Oh, sure you can.
It's going to take me a minute. Talk amongst yourselves for a second. I realize that I have it. I only have it in like a Clip Studio Paint file. I need to export.
So that's okay. So you were talking about how many comics you had upstairs. I don't know if you can kind of see behind me the Marcus Phoenix and the Ninja Turtles and the Deadpool statues. So those are sitting on one of 2 3-drawer file cabinets that I've turned into a comic file cabinet, and they are the one is damn near all the way full, and the other one's a little over halfway full. And so I popped, like, I used command strips to like put the little like the hard sleeves on the front, so I could decorate the front with whatever comics are behind that. So like I have most of it's X-Men, because like I said, big X-Men fan. But and then you can see on my wall back there too, like some graded comics and stuff like that. So I just kind of like what Scott was talking about. I've been collecting for so long. It's gotten a little out of hand.
So the other cover I want to show is the regular cover for Quest 3. Oh, and I had told them that I wanted to do something like, I don't know if you're familiar with the iconic, the Web of Spider-Man 32 cover from the Kraven's Last Hunt, where Spider-Man is crawling up out of the grave. I want to do something like that. So this is going to be the cover for issue 3.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Yep. And is that Mannix again?
No, this is for issues 2 and 3. I've got a new interior artist, only because the guy who did the first issue was great, but he was so great that he wasn't available to do the next issues because he had already committed to other people and other projects. So this is a guy by the name of Rock Alves who does the interior art for issues 2 and 3, which is a 2-parter. But this is going to be the cover for issue 3.
Damn good cover.
So I'm pretty excited about all of these. So I just wanted to share that. I'm hoping to get issue 2 out in the fall. So I'm hoping to have issue 2 out hopefully in September, but we'll just have to see how it goes. And I might have one more thing to show, but I know we're running along here.
Dave's just getting a second wind.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty amped up right now.
Well, we can look at a couple comments, I guess.
Have you guys done Dave? You're talking about graded comics. Have you done the thing where you've gotten your own comics graded?
I haven't yet, but I want to. I want to get all of my all 3 covers from issue 1.
Yeah.
And then I did 6 freaking covers for this issue, so that'd be 6 more. So that'd be 9 graded comics. And my initial plan was I want to get all of my own graded, all the variants and everything, and then do like a couple of maybe just the standard or some of the more popular covers, because I think at a convention, which I've only done one so far, one actual convention, but I want to do more. I think that's just something cool to have at your table.
Yeah.
And even if nobody buys it, like it's just cool to have it sitting there, but also you can have it at a pretty high dollar value. And if so, if nobody buys it, then it's just a cool table piece, conversation piece. But if they do buy it, awesome. You're going to set it to the point where you make money on it, obviously. So I'd like to. I haven't done it yet.
I've done a few of them, and the only story I really have from it is like the one that came back at like a 9.4, and I'm like, but I took it straight from the packaging and handed it right to you.
Why was this not a 9.8 or the
exactly.
the rare 10.0 or whatever?
Yeah,
I have some graded comics that I bought right from the store that I literally never opened that got like a 9.6 or 9.4, and I'm like, huh? did the mailman mess this up? Like, what's happening?
Oh, Diamond gets us one more time.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually did. I sent in some myself, and I got for my first issue of Crime Busters. I got some came back 9.6, some came back 9.8, and I don't know why it was one or the other because they were all from the same batch. But let me see if I can share this with you. So next year is going to be the 5th anniversary of when I started making comics with the Crime
nice.
Buster Comics thing. So I'm doing a special. All my comics next year are going to have these variant covers.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so I've got all the characters for my different titles. Cthulhu versus Uncle Sam are these ones over here on the right, and then Crime Busters is at the bottom, and then the Quest characters on the left here.
I love that.
Corner boxes rule.
Yeah, so again, this is something where I just started doing it for fun, for my own entertainment, and I was like, I should do these. So yeah, I'm hoping to do 6 campaigns next year. We'll see. We'll see how it shakes out, but every issue that I put out in whatever my series, they're gonna have the 5th anniversary frame covers. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's not going to have this picture, but that's just a mock-up.
Right.
But I'm gonna probably find someone to do like all the headshots, so they all have either the same artist.
Right. No, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So Scott, is graphic design like part of your day job, or?
No, I'm a freelance writer, so I do writing professionally. This is just something I do for fun.
Nice.
I was an art minor in college, so it's a minor skill. All right. Why don't we look at the last couple of comments that I haven't gotten to, and then we could probably wrap it up here.
Cool.
Let's see. We're a little bit behind, but Tartan Fan says, just back Broken Trident, ketchup bundle, impulse buy, why not? Well,
thank you very much.
Yeah.
I like how Tartan thinks.
Kyle says he left a little while ago. Life is pulling me away. Congratulations to all, gentlemen. Well, if you watch this later, Kyle, thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. Tom Levine, as a writer, how do you judge art?
Hi, Tom. How do I judge art? It's knee-jerk reaction, and then I'm trying to get better at it. My day job is an advertising and marketing copywriter. So I'm trying to get better at looking at art on a deeper level. Something that's more of a skill than, like I said, like a gut reaction. So I trust my gut and knee jerk, Dave, like we were talking about earlier, like if the hair goes up on your arm, then you might not know why it went up, but it went up. And that's what matters. I know with the artists that I'm working with, their acting skills. So Meredith Laxton on Charlie's Spot. I'm working with Fernando Pinto on this new thing. They're the acting and the headshots, and being able to pull emotion through eyes on a piece of paper. That to me is just freaking up close magic. Scott, I was thinking about that when you were showing one of your variant covers. I was the one that kind of had it felt like they were in a cave and there's light pouring through the back of the cave.
Yeah.
And I mean, this might sound like the most naive thing ever said, but what blows me away is like when a piece of paper can almost blind you. Like the coloring and the design and the shading makes it feel like it's actually, sending light off to you. And that was the vibe I got off of that one variant. Like, to me, like I said, that's just up close magic. And I know, like, for my career, I should really learn, like, get into it and into the weeds and understand the why. But there's also part of me that just maybe never wants it to not be magic. It's why I love working with artists. And I was thinking about it when you were showing off the variant covers, especially the ones, that are still just pen and ink. like we've the best part of making this stuff is basically the new art email, and just seeing that stuff come back in and the interpretation of what was in the script or what you talked about, but then seeing what they added and what they changed, and how they injected themselves into it. Like it's I keep thinking it's like this is exactly what I wanted, plus more things that I had no idea I wanted. And now that I see it, there's no other way it could be.
May Contain Hijinks says, "Do you want any about the Red Planet comic, George, or is that still newsletter secret?"
No, it's I'm gonna start. Yeah, we're gonna start spreading word soon. So the book I'm working with Fernando Pinto is co-creating it, and the artist on it, Ellie Wright, is coloring it. Justin Birch is gonna letter it. It's called Vampires on Mars. It's kind of a mashup of kind of like a B movie horror with a kind of a dark comic sense of humor about a desperate billionaire who wants to be the first one to send people onto Mars, but realizes people can't survive the trip. So if you can't send humans to Mars, then don't send humans. And so turns his astronaut crew into vampires, and it goes terribly wrong. Just recently got our preview pages lettered. Justin was able to do that before he went to Heroes Con, and we're putting together a 12-page ashcan for it. Actually, I already have the Kickstarter page approved and up. And Scott, who knows? We might be on the same cycle come this fall if everything goes right.
I'm putting out so much stuff these days. I feel like I'm on the same cycle as everybody.
Yeah. But yeah, and Fernando's killing it. Ellie's killing it. Justin Birch, letterers are not given enough credit for what they do, and Justin is a fantastic letterer. Who I'm like now it's kind of my mission to make him realize how good he is, because I still don't think he's accepted it. So I'm just going to keep blowing him up whenever I get the chance. He's a fantastic letterer, great person to work with, and so just seeing it all come together this week on like Monday, seeing it all put together, it's like, oh, this is real. And they're all killing it. Fernando has this amazing ability, in the same style of art. When we're going for spooky, evil horror, it fits. When we're going comedic, it fits. When it's going for kind of like those dun 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 moments, it all works. I keep thinking of the book Chew from John Layman and Rob Gilroy. He reminds me a lot of Rob Gilroy's art, where it's just cartoony enough that anything can happen and you buy it, but it's still grounded enough that the real moments are real. So we were talking about that shorthand. That's what I was alluding to, is, I just sent him the third script and it's like all just like half sentences and stuff like that, and then Scott, to what you're doing, to make sure the words aren't in the way, I'm going to let him draw it first, and then figure out, the fewest amount of bubbles to keep everything moving and keep it entertaining without stomping on his art.
Let's get to a couple more comments, and then I'll probably have to wrap it up here before I fall asleep. Make It Teen Hijinks says the most emotionally significant comic owner is a Batman the Animated issue that a friend got signed by Kevin Conroy as a surprise gift.
That's awesome.
For those if you like watching videos about people talk about their back issues, I just did for my 50th birthday a top 50 comics in my collection video. And a lot of those are me talking about the emotional stories behind them. But for me, it's my Avengers #1 that I had signed by Stan Lee when I was 16. So there's a lot more to that story, but that's the short version.
The short version rules.
Yeah. Let's see. Tartan Fam says the 5th anniversary covers off the chain. Thanks again. I thought it would be fun, and I think it is fun. And so, like, there's going to be Crime Busters covers, and I might, if I don't have a new issue of Cthulhu versus Uncle Sam next year, I might put out a special 5th anniversary edition just so I can have the cover to go with the set. But we'll see how it goes. I want to, if I can get that Granny Gumshoe 100-page giant out next year. I still need 2 issues. I'm trying to get all of her Golden Age appearances. That's another Golden Age character that I've kind of revamped. So I'm trying to buy all of her Golden Age issues so I can scan them and remaster them and put out a collection of all of them. And I'm still missing 2 of them because some of them are kind of hard to find. But I do want to get one of those covers of Granny. So I'm going to figure out some way to do that.
Nice.
All right. Well, there's still 28 minutes left on Broken Trident for anyone that's still watching. If you want to check that out. And we've gone a little bit longer than I was anticipating, but I had a lot of fun. I hope everyone else had a lot of fun. And I appreciate everyone watching and everyone's support with the Kickstarters.
Yeah. Scott, thank you for having us. George, very nice to meet you. Excited to see your comic. I backed it before it ended there, and I already backed Scott's a couple days ago. I'm actually really excited to read both, and very thankful that I was able to be on this show, and very thankful to all my backers. So thanks everybody.
Yeah, thanks both of you for coming and keeping me company. And as we wash these down, and Dave, I'm sorry I forgot your last name when we had the introductions today.
No big deal.
I knew it all day because I was typing it, when I was like
on Facebook and everything.
On Facebook, I had it memorized all day right up until I had to say it, and then
that's all good. I wasn't offended. I don't have it in my little headline down there. So,
all right. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Again, thanks everyone for watching, and if you missed any of this. It'll be available on my YouTube channel whenever they finish processing it. So sometime tomorrow you can rewatch it.
Bless you.
All right. Thanks everyone. And I'll see you next time we make comics. So soon.